Hundreds and I, who was standing, where are you, Ben? You didn't want to, okay, so Ben is an audience as well. And we started a little apparel brand and media company that you should be familiar with if you were here tonight. It's called The Hundreds, but our story goes back even further, and it stems back into the 80s, into the 90s. Ben and I were both raised right here in Southern California. I'm from the smog and rocks of Riverside, and Ben grew up out in the valley. Here we go. I grew up in the skateboarding scene and culture and funk, and Ben grew up more attuned to like hip hop and street culture. That was his thing. Let's see. Sorry, I'm getting used to this slideshow. What kind of computer is this? It's like a Darth Maul. I don't think I can see this computer over here. I'm not used to this thing. So the advent of streetwear during this era, from the early pioneers of brands like Stussy and Jive and Extra Large, they really resonated with us and they spoke to us. That photo is right out in front of our shop. That was our early crew. Some of these guys are still around. Some of them are world famous DJs, like Dylan Francis right there in the middle. Yeah. What we loved about streetwear is that it wasn't restricted to or pigeonholed as entirely skateboarding or 100% urban. It wasn't just a fashion thing either. Streetwear was of the street, not of the runways, the corporate offices, or the garmentos. True, authentic streetwear was defined by the culture and the community in many ways. It was like a secret handshake club, which is why when we met as classmates in law school, this photo is very old. We look kind of silly. I look silly, but you have to consider the context of the time. It still looked ridiculous. We conceptualized a streetwear brand that was purposed in telling the people's stories that manifested through our product and were communicated through my blog, videos, our print magazine, and social media. In a few years' time, my blog became the industry's morning newspaper. It was read by millions of tastemakers and influencers around the world. The next evolution was exploding that blog globally so that it wasn't just me reporting from Fairfax anymore. Now, thehundreds.com would have satellites worldwide documenting street and cool culture from their own neighborhoods. Like these lovely people. The basic idea of the Hundreds was that you weren't just buying a colorful t-shirt, there was a narrative behind that shirt, and you were buying into an experience. You were really buying into a relationship with our community that came together around the Hundreds, Rosewood, and thehundreds.com. We were 23 years young. That's not us, that's Dom from Brooklyn Projects and Tagi. But those are our first runs of shirts. And we had nothing to our name except a pretty good idea and a few $100. We walked blindly into poor fashion retailers. We convinced the buyers that we were the coolest brand in the streets, and they would be stupid not to stock our brand. We had no business acumen or connections in the industry or experience. We just knew we had something to say, and we wanted to be heard. We started showing at trade shows. We were the only brand of our kind those first couple seasons. Back then, shows were either dedicated to action sports or to urban, so most buyers did not know what to make of us. You know, they would ask us if we were a hip hop brand, like at that time it was like Echo, Nietzsche, Sean John, Fubu, South Pole, or if we were a skate brand, which at that time was like DC, DBS. You guys remember the skate brands of that era? Well, that question didn't really apply to us because, you know, Ben liked rap and I skated, so that, you know, that we were NA on that one. So then they would ask a more direct question of, are you guys for black kids or for white kids? And if you look at Ben and I, the question definitely doesn't apply. There really was no place for a Korean American kid from Riverside and a Persian Jewish kid from the Valley who were into punk and West Coast rap and skateboarding and literature and photography and all these things that we're into. So we ended up making our own industry. We built our own house so we would have somewhere to live. The Hundreds today is classic men's Californian streetwear. Our aesthetic is reminiscent of traditional West Coast workwear. We started off with graphic t-shirts that carried messages and shared an opinion. And then we printed fleece, and then our sweatshirts sold. And so we made headwear, and after headwear we graduated to cut and sew, eyewear, and even footwear. These are some of our early graphics that carry political messages that we continue on to this day. We especially need them now. And some of our past lookbooks. I try to shoot all the lookbooks myself and do it cheap and in a way where if you're a photographer and just trying to get creative, like Alex over here, then you can figure it out by, I don't know, pulling a tripod and Photoshop together, and you can do stuff like this. In lieu of traditional marketing and advertising, collaborations are a very big part of what we do to cross-pollinate and raise brand awareness. But unlike most brands, we focus on partnerships that foremost tell a good story. Past collaborations have been wide-ranging and seemingly all over the place if it weren't for having the hundreds in common. For example, you just saw Garfield. This was our collaboration with the Shadow Conspiracy. We did collaboration with DeLorean and Modernica Furniture, which we will continue to do. Tapatio Hot Sauce was a really popular favorite one. That was the first and only time they've ever done that. Grateful Dead. Reebok Pump was a big shoe project for us, although the pump itself I don't think was the most on-trend shoe in that period of time. The story around this project was really what carried it forward for us. If you guys ever watched the commercial run, and if you haven't, you should go home and do that tonight. Disney was probably the, I don't know how to go back, but Disney was, this project, okay. There we go. So this project was one of the biggest projects we've ever done. If you are new to the brand, you might not remember that, and weren't even aware that we ever did this project, but it really put us on the map, and this was circa, what was this, Ben? 2008? 2008 or 9? It took us 2 years to put that project out. It is, to this day, it stands as kind of the benchmark of what you cannot do when collaborating with Disney, so you will never see another brand use a Disney font or just have Disney under it. We merged logos into the characters, which is kind of a big no-no in the licensing world, but if you see the character all the way on the left, he has Annenbaum on his hat, and there's our Jack's printed on certain parts of the character, so this was very special for a lot of reasons. Also, up until that time, no one really thought of Disney being very cool within the young guy space. Disney is really targeted towards kids and women, and people were a little bit confused as to why we would even do this collaboration with Disney, because they were also such a big corporation at that time. We had a very underground punk feel to us, but it made so much noise and it broke all those rules. Kanye had a blog at the time, and then Kanye blogged about it, so it did really well for us. This was a project we did with Timberland recently. I don't know if you guys remember. I mean, I guess it's been a couple years now since that one. Adidas, we did like 4 Adidas shoes within a year, which was really fun. And the project with Lakers was Ben, is like your favorite collaboration of all time, pretty much, right? Yeah. I know someone's going to have that question tonight, so we already answered it for you. Okay. Back to the Hundreds would probably be one of my favorite collabs we've ever done. That movie is really the story of my life in every way. And now I have a girlfriend named Jennifer, which is the women's wear brand, just like Marty in the movie. So another important chapter in our brand story is the Hundreds retail. Because we're such control freaks, it is very important for us to have our own shops to fully explain who we are and what we stand for as a brand. It's a message that can be diluted and misrepresented on somebody else's shelf. This space you're looking at here was our first real official office, and that is next door to where we are right now. It's where the store exists. but Ben is sitting there working, and I used to sit right to the side of him, and those shelves contained all of our inventory. So that was Rosewood in the hundreds in a box. You know, I shot this really late at night. You know, we used to work around the clock. It was just the two of us, and there was nothing else on Fairfax outside of Supreme and Reserve, which was across the street. But a lot has changed, and today, you know, this is pretty much what the hundreds and Rosewood looks like. In 2007, we opened our first shop in what used to be that office, and we, this entire month, are celebrating 10 years of Rosewood, and now you guys are all a part of that story. We also have the 100 San Francisco in Union Square, 585 Post, which, this is not it, this is it. We celebrate 10 years next year, so we'll be talking a lot about San Francisco Post next year. But all in all, traditional clothing brands may be popularized by celebrity spokesmen or by styling a popular musician or rapper or sponsoring pro skaters. The difference with the hundreds is that we endorse you, the street side everyday individuals who are creating change within your universe. It all connects back to our mantra, which is people over product, because culture and community never go out of style. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We do the left. I think this is enough. DJ, can I get a water? Hello! Thanks for coming, everybody. Who has seen us speak before? Is it everybody? No? Good. Okay. Who let Amir out to sound redundant? Amir wasn't on the list. Who let him in? No, where'd you drive? I RSVP. Noah came in from Camarillo. Did anyone come further than that? Where'd you come from?
San Diego.
You drove up today?
Yeah.
Where in San Diego? North County or South?
South.
Oh, wow, you really drove up from San Diego? Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is very simple, and hopefully it's fun for you guys, and it's nice that we have a small, kind of more intimate group tonight. So I would love for this to go in a way where it's more of just a group conversation, like let's just all talk amongst ourselves. If you have questions for each other too, ask. Ben and I, we do these Q&As for you, but really we do them selfishly for us. We end up learning so much more about our brand and how we look from the outside, and being around you reminds us of why we do this to begin with. So we really do thank you for coming out tonight and being a part of this. It helps us out a lot. Who has a question?
How many designers did you start out with, and how many do you have right now?
We started out with just Bobby as the designer, and then as time went on, we hired someone to help him out with some graphics, and we hired someone to help with the cut and sew. So as we grew, we built a team. But originally, Bobby did everything, and today we have a team of Bobby plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total people.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first, yes, go ahead. I was just going to say that the first several years of this brand, it was just Ben and I doing pretty much everything. We had Scotty, who was also our intern after a little bit, but we taught ourselves everything. I mean, on my end, designing, right? Like, I knew how to draw, but I didn't know how to design graphics. I didn't know the programs. I taught myself. You know, I didn't know how to build a website. We couldn't pay for that, so I built the website back when. Now you guys have like a Squarespace and sites where there's just templates, you know, but it was just like, here's some code, read a book, and build a website, build a shopping cart. And so, and then on Ben's end, it was the same way. It was more just like, I don't know how to do the back end of the business or do sales. And I think because we put our feet to the ground and we really had to figure it out for ourselves for so long, we have an appreciation and an empathy for what everyone else in our company has to go through when they're complaining about their jobs and what they have to do. It's like, I know, like, I had to do that job for many years by myself also, with no one to help me. And I think the brand ended up feeling really organic and personal because of that, because we say blood, sweat, and years. It was like our lives that were poured into every facet of this company. I don't have our Atom Bomb up here, but if you look at the way that our mascot Atom Bomb is drawn, he's not even that perfect. And over the years, I've thought about like, oh, I could probably clean that line up now that I know how to design, but we kind of keep him a little bit imperfect because it reminds us of, we came from that. We came from a place where we just really didn't know anything. We still don't. We seem like we have it all together, but there's no school for this. We're just teaching ourselves as we go along. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
So how many designers do you start?
There were none. I mean, I wasn't even a designer. I taught myself to be a designer, so we had no designers when we started this stuff. Go ahead.
I appreciate that some of you came from far away. I actually came from the next block. I was wondering if you could talk about, I know Supreme was here and then you moved into this area. You've been so outspoken in such a great way politically about diversity. Would you talk a little bit about what it was like to move into a community that didn't understand what you were doing, what some of those pushbacks were, and how you tried to show that you're a good neighbor and participate a little bit more? I think it's a really important story that we all have to figure out how to work on.
That's a great question. I've actually had to speak about that a lot this week. There's Complex is writing a history of Fairfax piece right now that I've been helping out on. And how long have you lived on the block? Have you been here for a while?
I've only lived here for 2 years, but I've worked in this area for 6 years.
Okay. So even before 6 years ago, I mean, it was this area that you guys are sitting in right now is a historic Jewish neighborhood of Los Angeles. It's very special. And when we came around, that was 2006, right? So 2006, when we showed up, it was just supreme as far as like what it looks like today in terms of like streetwear or like fashion retail. It was just supreme, but it was all old Jewish bookstores, Israeli restaurants, like novelty kind of spots. Cantor's was still here. It was very sleepy. It was like, we used to say it was like tumbleweeds. And if you saw a girl, like you would go like 72 hours without seeing a girl in this neighborhood. And it was just like, oh my God, but I saw a girl today. You know, it's like a big deal for us. That's why we liked it out here. It's just, it was desolate and there was nothing to do. Like this street, there's traffic barreling up and down, but we used to play soccer on Rosewood and just hang out, like literally just hang out in the street all day, and it was just, there was like a wasteland. The neighborhood initially, and still in some ways, had a lot of pushback to us bringing in a lot of younger kids, skating, obviously smoking, and just like causing a lot of chaos. I want Ben though to tell the story of the first time we threw, was it the first time or one goal? Well, we ended up throwing these block parties, and that's where we got the most resistance from the block, from neighbors and people who'd been here a long time, like the Cantor's family.
So at that point, when we had thrown this particular block party, it was our third block party. So we had been here already 3 or 4 years, and we got along pretty well with everyone in the neighborhood, and we thought we were young and thought we were hot shit and we could get away with doing anything. And so this is our 3rd year throwing this party, and cops would always come and try shutting it down, and we did everything by the books, and we got everyone's signatures. We were good, and we always got away with it. But this one year, the 3rd year we did it, Gall, who owns the market next door, he was not happy with us closing off the street so early in the day. And I was like, hey, like, we're setting up, sorry, like, we're expecting like 2,000 people today, like, I have to get ready for this party, buzz off. And he was like, you need to open up the street. Like, I'm open for business, this is the way people get in, and you gotta do it. And I was like, no. And we got into a huge shouting match, like, before the party had started. It was, early afternoon. And we got in a huge shouting match, and we ended up like I think I kicked a rock at him or something. He spit at me, and like and he said to me, he said, "I promise you, this is the last year you ever throw this party." And me, I'm like, get the fuck out of here, you know, like this is my neighborhood too. Not realizing how much weight Gall carried in the neighborhood. Even though I had been here for a few years, and I was cool with him, but not that cool with him. And so we threw the party, and I did get shut down early that day. We were probably a little bit too loud or something. But the next year we go to throw the party. We got the permits, we got everything set up, and we everything done. And 2 days before, the city comes out, it's like, nope, you don't have the party. I'm like, no, what do you mean no? We were already set up. It's 2 days away. Sorry, neighborhood doesn't want it. And so after pushback and forth, we ended up losing, and we were never pretty much allowed to have a block party here again because Gall had caught wind of us throwing the party again, and his weight, he carried a bit more weight than we did in the neighborhood. Now that we've been here, we've gotten here in 2005. We've been on the street now more than 11 years. It's a different story, and we definitely have a little bit more clout than we did, 10 years ago. So if we wanted to throw a block party, maybe we could, but for many years we were, they did not like us for that.
Tell what happened. What happened with you and Gall in the end?
In the end, after a few years, we were throwing a party. We didn't talk for years, literally. And we were throwing a party. We tented off the back parking lot. Is that what you're talking about? And I saw him, and we just looked at each other, and we just started talking, and we were both like, all right, we're grown up, like, let's put that behind us. And like, now he's like, I don't want to say he's my best friend, but he's a friend.
We had like an hour-long meeting with him the other day, just us and Gall, and it's got back from his market, so.
Yeah, I saw him this afternoon, and comes give me a kiss and a hug, like, he's like my older brother, So, yeah, it all came full circle. And now he, anything we want to do in the neighborhood, anything, any, political weight or whatever we might need, he really does back us and supports us. And we try to do the same for him also. I still go to his market all the time. I support him in his business. He needs advice on, his family owns a lot of property in the neighborhood, and he's always asking me who should come in and who shouldn't. So we work with the ownership, even in this building too. We work with ownership here and the owners on the street to help make sure that the neighborhood stays, cool, I guess. Yeah. So that, we like the fact that his Jewish market is still there. We like the fact that that element of the neighborhood still exists, and we push him all the time. He wants to leave and move his market somewhere else, but we push him all the time to keep his market here because it keeps the character of the neighborhood.
The thing that I forgot was that those block parties, is this on? You think it's good? Either way.
Yeah, it's on.
It's on? Okay. The important thing that I forgot to mention with the block parties, the reason why we threw it was to bring the block together. So it wasn't just streetwear, because at that time, it still is this way, streetwear, even though it seems like we're all friends, we all hate the living daylights out of each other. And so it was the one moment where we could bring everyone together on neutral grounds. Let's all support each other for a day and hang out. And it was also a way to support Fairfax and the community. The problem was that the older businesses that had been here weren't really happy with us being here, no matter how much we said that they were here to support, we were here to support them. I think over the years they started to appreciate it a little bit more, and now we're kind of in that spot because we've been here for 7 years and have,
listen, let me check her mic because I don't think it's working. You want to press her?
Sure.
So now that we have been here for 10 years, 11 years, we're kind of those dinosaurs on the block now in the neighborhood that we're looking around who are these guys? What's this brand? And I have no problem with brands or people just being on this street neighborhood, it's like, it's not my neighborhood, we've just been here a long time. I would just hope that when brands come in, that they appreciate the history and the brands and designers, and also just the neighbors that came before. You see a lot of stores come in on the street and they don't do that, and they don't last very long because they think, oh, I could just like set up shop here because it's cool, because all the cool shops are here. It doesn't work that way. These are just buildings. It's like when they say the church isn't the building, it's the congregation. These are just buildings and storefronts. It's really about the people inside of them and the community. Like Five knows this, you know, like Five's been here for so long, he knows that it's like, Fairfax is like a living organism, and it's an ecosystem. Like everyone is a part of it. So if you just try to come in and you don't do your homework and you don't lay down the relationships, like anything cool and culture-based in life, like you're not going to survive. And you've seen it. I don't even need to name the stores and brands who've done it.
Okay.
And everything. Well, you won't.
I won't.
Because we're nice. Well, you know,
Nice
you have to do
tonight.
it.
We're going to be nice tonight.
But in the complex interview, the interviewer was asking me about if they're setting up, you know, Fairfax in general is trying to be replicated in different parts of the world now. Like everyone's like, oh, we're trying to do this streetwear shopping district in the Philippines or Europe. And I think that's great, but they're, again, just replicating structural buildings and not understanding how to replicate community. And there's no way to replicate this community. It was so organic, and it continues to evolve like that. Like, I can't tell you how and why Fairfax and Rosewood happened. There's like no way. There's so many things that came together, you know, from skating like Nakel to Odd Future guys to Supreme being here. Like all these things had to come together for it to work, and they continue to evolve like that every day. Like history is being made here, and it's like in 10 years we'll realize the importance of what happened today. We just can't see it while it's happening. So it's a pretty magical place. If you guys don't, if you're not from around here, try to come and visit and just like hang out. Like don't even buy anything. Just like hang out and talk to people on the street, and you'll understand where culture and cool is headed next. Like all these kids know. Five, you can also just have a conversation with Five. I like how you're standing there like you're just like our bodyguard. You're like someone rushes the stage.
We're doing this for a while now.
If you guys have questions for Five too, you can ask. There's so much history here. Next. Yes.
Any marketing tactics that you guys used in the early years of the hundreds that you guys could share with us?
I mean, the marketing tactics we use in the early years, they don't even exist anymore.
Okay.
It was like Nike Talk was our marketing tactic.
Does anyone know what Nike Talk is? Are you on it? Okay. That's where a lot of streetwear started from. It's a message board for sneaker collectors. It started in 99, 2000. So Ben and I were on it back then. And sneaker collecting, if you were into sneakers back then, like you knew the other sneaker collectors in the world. Like there was like 100 of us, and like it all pretty much started on that message board. So that's what he's talking about.
That's like the earliest marketing we did. I don't know what else did we do. I feel like we didn't.
Yeah,
I mean, other marketing ideas, like another one that you would never do now is we printed up flyers and we would have kids pass them out at high schools. Or the other one was Bobby had these really smart flyers that we would make that said like, lose 5,000 pounds in 5 minutes, go to thehundreds.com. Or like, free Nirvana show tomorrow night, go to thehundreds.com. You know,
That's our Nirvana reunion concert. You know, we got RSVP, it was like after Kurt had died.
And we would take those and put them on phone poles around the city. Phone poles around the city. So those were like the fun.
All the weight ones, we got a lot of responses for. People were like, I need to lose 500,000 pounds in 5 minutes. And I'm like, what? Like, cut off your leg. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, I mean, it's like, we get asked that a lot because I think the way, the context and situation you guys face now if you're starting a brand, I feel like everyone thinks they have to get very big, very fast, and everything has to happen overnight, and you have to be like an antisocial social club, or you gotta get your thing on, you know, Kylie or Kendall, and like that's how you blow up. And it wasn't. It's not about that, you know. I mean, if you're just interested in blowing up and blowing out and making your money and running, like okay, try to go down that route. But I think what was really cool about streetwear for us at that time was that it was not about dollars. It really wasn't. It was just like, this is fun. Like, this is so much fun. Like, if one person bought a t-shirt from us, it like made our day for like, it made our month. You know, it's just like, that is so cool that someone bought our t-shirt, and like, that carried us on to the next t-shirt. And there was no thought of like, one day we're gonna sell the LVMH. Like, now that's in everybody's head, right? It's like, oh, I might be able to sell like if Supreme sells the LVMH, or I might get to do a Louis Vuitton collaboration. Like, no one cared about that stuff back then. It was just, let's do this, it's fun. Oh, like maybe if we print Aspire and put it up, it's kind of funny, and like we'll get a few hits on our website. It was like, the goals were just very realistic, and now the things that you guys are faced with are so daunting and so unrealistic that I think it's intimidating. Like, don't think like that. Just try to have fun, win over one person at a time. You know, one person will connect another, and that's just how you end up taking over the world. But it just takes a lot of time. Like, don't try to get in this just to blow up overnight. Like, it's just, there's other ways to make money and find success than building a streetwear brand. Trust me. Yeah.
What are some brands you guys look up to while you guys were starting out, and also some brands you guys kind of look up to now that you guys are 10 years into the game, or not more than 10 years into the game?
When we started, we were fans of streetwear, so brands that I looked up to then, a lot of them I still look up to today. We were just talking about this with someone the other day, but SUR is SSUR was my favorite brand before we had started the hundreds, and is a big reason why I got into streetwear and why I got into the brand. Going to the SUR shop in New York when it was on Spring Street was one of the biggest treats for me. Being able to see what Russ was doing and how that store was still. It's like one of my favorite stores that was ever put together. So SUR was like I really looked up to SUR and what he was doing. And of course at that time, like Supreme was really popular, not nearly what it is today, and it really was much more of a New York thing. And if you knew, you knew. That was like really what Supreme was. And that was, I looked up to them, and they were a big influence on our brand when he had first started. And still, like, even Stussy, Bake, those guys are still big influences, were big influences then. SUR was probably the biggest for me. Today, is there anyone I look up to, or as a big influence? I don't know.
Or even like smaller brands that are coming up right now that you guys think are cool?
Yeah, I mean, there's other smaller brands I like. I probably don't pay as much attention to what's going on as I should. I was just talking to David, walked in a little bit ago, and I asked him yesterday, I was like, all right, what's up? What do you like right now? He's like, he went through his list. He's like, I like this, I like that. He asked me, and I was like, I have no idea. And it's probably bad of me to not know. But I like today's small brand. I like Pleasures. I like what Anwar is doing with Carrots. Of the newer brands, those are probably my two favorites. And I think that they'll both be here in years to come. Yeah, I don't know.
David, where are you, David? David's in the red beanie, designs all our accessories and headwear. You're wearing Cab right now. Is Cab your favorite brand? I love Cab too. I think Cab's awesome. I just had to bring that up. But if you guys have any questions for David too, please ask. We have a lot of people here from the 100, so we have 5 and David, and Amir is kind of in a way part of the hundreds as well. And Jasmine is my new assistant, and she's sitting next to Percival, who does marketing, along with Mike. So, and then look who's walking in the door. Oh, it's not just back there. Okay, so,
What about Spit?
where's Spit? Oh, right, sorry, Spit. I just looked right through you.
The star of the room.
Alexander Spit is a big deal, and he's here. And LJ is here as well in the back. So our whole Rosewood crew. I love Kadem. It's a Japanese brand. Very cool. I love Pleasures. What Ben was saying, we were talking about Sir with someone the other night. We were at dinner with the Pleasures guys. I love what Babylon is doing. I think it's very cool. It's just so authentic, and that word is so played out in marketing speak. But if you want to look at real or authentic street culture right now and what LA represents, it's Babylon.
Babylon's the Rosewood.
Babylon can be,
Babylon is like.
that makes it sound like we're the old Rosewood. Like,
No,
are we not?
Babylon is like, if you don't come on Rosewood, then you go to Babylon.
Then you go to Babylon.
Yeah, like-
Then it's okay.
Yeah, it's like-
We're okay with
it's
that.
like-
Yeah. I loved, when I was growing up, I loved Fresh Dive. I still love Rick Klotz. The brand isn't really around anymore, but he's a legend. I liked all of the agitators and like the contrarian type of designers that were just trying to ruffle shit up, and he's really one of the guys, he got into like, he's been in fights with everyone, just like Bernetti with Fucked and Eli with Extra Large. Like those guys, they really thought outside the box when they were building those brands, and they were questioning everything, and then ended up questioning each other and then questioning themselves, which is like, makes people go crazy, but it makes for brilliant and beautiful art. And that happened with those brands. So I like those brands. Like Supreme obviously is like a huge influence, not just on us, but on the whole culture. I don't necessarily love the clothes and the design. I think I've only owned a few things from Supreme in my life, but what James did as a brand architect is something that like I've always definitely aspired to. Stussy, when Sean was still involved all the way up until 1992, 93, I loved that brand, and then after that it kind of lost a little bit of its meaning to me, but Stussy is also like very influential in terms of my younger life. You guys weren't even alive back then. I was a young person. Go ahead.
I have 2 questions for you guys. Within the company, what is something you guys underestimated that ended up being a big obstacle? And also, what is something that you learned that the consumer likes about your company?
Okay, well, that's a very good question.
What did we underestimate that ended up becoming a big obstacle for us? I think is when you start a brand, I mean, at your age, for some of the younger people out there, the older you get knocked down a bit and humbled, but streetwear is very cool because it started by mostly young people, and you have gigantic egos, and you're invincible, and you're gonna live forever. Like, that's why streetwear is really fun to watch, because everyone that comes into the space thinks they're reinventing the wheel, thinks it's gonna last forever, and they're cool, and they're the next Supreme or whatever. Like, every brand thinks that, and for a moment it looks like they're gonna be that, but then they all end up repeating everyone else's mistakes, and then you get broken, and then you realize, like, wait a minute, it's not about that, and it's really just about building a brand and having fun with it, creating. So you end up like doing this full circle thing. I think when we started, we had, even though I felt like at the time we were more humble than the rest, like now in hindsight I realize like how gigantic and stupid our egos were. We were just so ignorant, like we made a lot of dumb mistakes because we just were like, nah, we're gonna be just so cool forever, and we're like gonna be the best, and blah blah blah. It's like, no, nothing really lasts forever. It's not meant to. The hundreds in 2006, like, although it was really cool and exciting back then in a certain way, it was very unprofessional, unpolished, and like, I'm not proud of what we were doing back then in hindsight. You know what I mean? So I think we underestimated just how we would think 14 years into the brand. I think we thought like it was going to be like that forever, but it didn't stay like that. It evolved because we changed
as people, and so the brand ended up changing as well. And like, that's nothing anyone could have foreseen.
Bobby gave a really general answer, and everything he said is 100% true. A specific example of something that ended up being quite a bit harder than we really thought it'd be was our footwear program. And we had been in business years, and we had grown a good business, and we had employees in the warehouse. And we're like, okay, the dream for Bobby and I from the beginning was we want someone to wear the hundreds from head to toe. And so we pretty much had made everything by that point except for footwear. And so we got a shot with some Korean factory, and the guy let us make shoes. They were good. We brought on a designer. We brought on a second designer, and we had a footwear program going for a few years there. We ran it for 5 years, which is a long time now that I think about it. And we thought that footwear was just like apparel. And we anticipated it to be just like apparel. Like, oh, this, we did it with clothing, we could do it with shoes. What's the difference? And there's a very big difference. Footwear is a much different ball game, and it's a way different crowd. How you buy, how you sell, how you think as a company. Footwear companies are footwear companies. They're different than apparel companies, and we thought we could be an apparel company running a footwear company. And so we ran it for years, and I don't want to say we failed. We didn't fail. We did very well with our shoes for 5 years, but we also, during that 5 years, we looked at each other like, okay, can this be as big as our apparel? And I don't think Bobby and I, we realize we're not footwear people. We care more about the Hundreds brand and being an apparel company, an internet company as a whole, than just focusing solely on footwear. And I think really to be successful as a footwear company, you need to focus on being a footwear company. And so after years, we decided to just shut the program down.
So to add a little bit to the shoes, so do you think you guys could have succeeded if you made like a whole different company on the shoe side? Like separate from the hundreds in a way? Do you think that would have helped out?
I don't know. I don't think so. If Bobby and I would have dedicated our lives to footwear and started another footwear company, and we didn't have the hundreds, and we were engulfed in it the way we were with our brand when we had started, and we were focused, when we started, we were focused on the web, and we were focused on making t-shirts. And if we were focused on footwear the way we were, those two things when we started the hundreds, possibly, yeah. But we weren't. We were still focused on our own brand, and rightly so. That's where the energy should have been. And so you can do a footwear brand. It's I don't want to say it's not hard. It is very hard. But if you work hard at it, and I think that goes for anything in life. You can do anything you want in life. And so now that I'm a little bit older and I've lived a little bit, and we've run a couple different businesses, and I have a lot of friends that have a lot of friends that do a lot of different things. Growing up, everyone says you can do anything you want as long as you work hard, and I actually really believe it. I really do.
I think no. Look at what everyone's wearing. You're wearing one of 3 pairs of shoes. You're wearing Adidas, Nike, or Vans. If you're wearing Converse, you're wearing Nike, and then that's pretty much it. I'm looking around. That's it. There are only 2 players in this whole space. Meanwhile, every one of you is wearing probably a different clothing brand or a different t-shirt. There's like thousands of apparel brands to wear that are all hot and can all exist, but there's only room for 2 shoe players. If you think about it, if you have $100 or you have $200 to spend on some shoes, are you going to buy the latest? There's Yeezys, NMDs, some Jordans that came out. Or are you going to buy like the 100 shoes? No matter how diehard you are for the 100, you're going to be like, I'm going to buy this. Why? Because they have such a legacy. They've done the R&D. They have just such a name in place. There's a resale value associated with shoes now, where we didn't even have to compete with that back then. And so Nike's entire, the budget that we dedicated to
our entire year of a footwear program. That was like Nike's marketing budget for like 3 hours on a Monday. You know, it's like, how can you even compete with like that type of prowess? Like we couldn't, there was no way. And that's why it's very hard, it's very, very difficult for anyone to enter the shoe space because it's just such a monopoly. And for whatever reason, people just aren't comfortable with moving on from Nike and Adidas. I don't know. Coca-Cola,
Adidas wasn't even in the conversation up until a couple of years ago, right? It was really
right.
Just,
it really was
our
just
world.
Nike.
Yeah, well, it was Nike and a little bit of Vans, and then now
we started doing footwear because we wanted to dress people head to toe, but we also did it philosophically. I was like, there's gotta be kids out there that don't want to just wear Nike and Adidas. Like there has to be someone out there that is ready for something new. This is like what your parents and your grandparents wore. Like you can't be repeating, you know, like in all fashion, it's like, oh, my parents used to wear that, like I can't wear that. My dad used to rock that brand, like I can't wear that brand. But there has to be like that mentality in footwear, like, right? Like you can't wear the same, no. Like everyone wants to wear the same shoes that their dad wore, I guess. You know? Like, so that was very frustrating with us in the shoe process because I was like, going into stores that we would sell our shoes in, and it would be, you know, if you walk into like an Active, let's say, and it was all Nike shoes, or swoosh, 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 all the way down Janowski's, 99% of the wall, and then there was like, at the time, like 3 like Boosinets, Adidas skateboarding shoes, and then there was like ours at the very bottom, like collecting dust, and it's just like, we cannot compete with this. Like, we just can't. So, you can go, anyone can start a footwear brand, but you gotta figure out a different way to do it, man. It's just a completely different animal. Go ahead.
Any mistakes you guys were glad that you guys made, or mistake early in the 90s?
I've said this before, I don't really see anything as a mistake. Like, I barely have any regrets. It's all relative. Like, success and failure are relative. You know, when we make something that blew out, that's amazing, this is success. Oh, but in a way now we're oversaturated. You know, or like something, you know, we don't sell enough of something, but then it heightens the appeal because now there's scarcity. So like everything is just relative. It's not, I don't know, like in hindsight when you look at things, everything just looks like steps. It's just, we needed to do that. We needed to drop the footwear program so that as soon as we did that, all our shoe collaborations opened up. Like literally within a week, Adidas and PF Flyers, Timberland, everyone was like knocking on our door. Like now we can do collaborations with you. So it's like, oh, that was a failure. Not really, because now we have like all these marketing dollars going through Adidas collaborations. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's very rare that something's like really just a failure and that's like, oh, that like really sucked and I wish that didn't happen. And I honestly can't even think of what that would be. Like there's just nothing. It all took us to where we are today, and I like where I am today. Like I'm happy with the brand. I'm like happy to be here with you guys tonight. So it's like nothing was too bad. Maybe it's different for Brent.
Hiring Mike B was a mistake.
That was a complete mistake tonight.
That was a mistake.
Josh,
Yeah, I think that's why Josh got fired. Josh got fired like 5 times.
no, he's not.
He got fired again. He's getting fired.
Way to bring it up, Noah. Okay, the blue hat. That kind of
Amir, we're not answering.
All right, can't answer my question.
Says nothing. I'm done.
I was wondering for you, Bobby. I heard you do an interview on Kinda Neat, the podcast, and you said back in the day you used to do music reviews and you were bringing in a ton of money. What I wanted to know was today, how could somebody do the same thing or something similar and still bring in the big bucks?
Music reviewing?
Yeah,
music reviewing.
Yes, I'm a music reviewing.
I haven't done that in a long time. The landscape is different. So the reason why I was making a lot of money doing that back then was because print was a huge revenue generator, print magazines, and I used to get paid, and this was like average at the time, $1 a word. So 500 word music review, which was just like, you could write that in 5 minutes, was $500, and I used to just spit those out and send them off to Spin or wherever. Like everyone was just, that's just how it was back then. Like no one knew, but you know what? Like to your advantage, nobody knows. If you know how to write, You can apply that to so many different things now because nobody knows how to write. Like nobody, I don't even know how to write. People think I'm a genius. They're like, "Why are you such an amazing writer?" I'm like, I just write. Like they teach you in 6th grade to write. I can write. So if you know how to write, like you can own that to not just do music reviews, but you can just work on copy for a bunch of different things. I don't know how. You know who you should ask that question to? Are the 2 guys sitting right in front of you who are music makers. They're probably the culture and the purpose of it all. It's fine with me because it just means that all these people are going to get over it soon and move on because there will be no money left in it, and then it'll go back to being just people like us who actually care. And then there will be another little Nike talk again, and people are going to be like, you still collect shoes, or you're still like collecting streetwear? That was so like 2017. I'm like, yeah, because I was always into it for the community and the culture. You know, like we've always been that, and we will always continue to be that. I like saying that people buy our clothes to wear, not to sell them. I like that. Yeah.
What's the story behind you guys' mascot? Was it something that was like thought of and refined?
The atom bomb?
Yeah.
Okay, so he asked what was the story behind atom bomb. The bomb itself, and it's funny because I just came from a meeting at Warner Brothers, and we were having this discussion over like that bomb, and I was just like, speaking of Warner Brothers, like that came from Saturday morning cartoons. It came from Acme and the Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. It started off as just a silhouette bomb that you see typically on the back of our t-shirts. And then one day Ben was just like, hey, you like drawing cartoons, why don't you personify him or characterize him as a cartoon? And I was like, oh yeah, no problem. So I ended up drawing him one night. It was like, I don't know, on a Tuesday, and I put him up on a blog, and I wrote on a blog, you know, email your submissions for a name and I'll send you a free t-shirt. And I got 200 people emailing in suggesting names. 2 different people chose Atom Bomb, and I was just like, that's a great name. Sent him t-shirts, and that's Atom Bomb. And like he was just meant to be that. He was just meant to be a mascot. We put him on, the first shirt he was ever on was, the first thing he was ever on was a sweatshirt that said TH, and he was in the middle. It didn't sell. And then we did a Fresh Dive collaboration, and I put him on the back. It didn't sell. And then I put him in this basketball. It was a shirt that said Bridgewater. It looked like a basketball team shirt, and he was a basketball instead of a bomb. And that shirt exploded. Like literally, figuratively, exploded. Because people I like basketball, I like streetwear. They didn't care about the bomb, they cared because, hey, there's a basketball. In streetwear, anytime you put a basketball on anything, it does great. Like, so if you ever see us like just throwing basketballs around, you really need money at that time. Throwing basketballs out. So that's where Atom Bomb, and then people were like, after a while, they're like, oh, the bomb is cool too. And then it just took a while for it to hit, like maybe a year or a couple of years or so. But the bomb, if you notice, is a metaphor. It never really explodes. He's always right about to explode, and that's how we try to treat our brand, is that we want to keep it under the surface, like right there, but never blow out. Like how long can we keep it going for? And that's really what the bomb is.
Kind of relates back to the Future as well.
How so?
Because the time zone?
Oh yeah, okay, sure. Everything relates back to the
That first collaboration you guys did with Revelation Records, how did that happen?
Okay, so he's asking about a collaboration with Revelation Records. They're an awesome, old school, hardcore record label. I grew up being in the scene. And that's really what it was. I knew Jordan from the scene. Jordan's the owner and the founder and a lot of those bands, just growing up in that scene. And I don't even remember the very first time we collaborated with them. I don't even remember when that was. It was
2009.
Was it?
What was it?
What was it?
It was, what's it called?
Was it the one with the band list on the back?
No, there was one with the Chain of Straight
Chain of
logo,
Straight.
and then it said the hundreds in the bottom, and then Gorilla Biscuits logo, skateboarding.
Yeah.
The one with
oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You?
That was 2009 we put that out?
That's really all it was, which is how the best collaborations happen, organically through people that you know and you trust, and it comes up in a way where you're just hanging out and like, hey, this would be so cool, yeah, that would be cool, hey, let's do it, okay, there's no contracts, like no one's talking about money, and it's just like, let's just do it, and then it comes out and it's like an amazing thing. Even if it doesn't sell that well, it's like those are the ones that everybody remembers because you cared so much about it. You know, like that was how that collaboration happened, just through friendships. That's a big question that I'm surprised no one has asked about tonight, is how do you do collaboration, or what are your favorite collaborations, which is like were you about to ask that question?
You answered what our favorite collaboration was, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to just pick one, but as far as like, how do you do collaboration, that's like such a strange question. You just do it. Like, I don't know, like, how do you have sex? I don't know, you just do it. Rub your body on the other body, you just do the thing. You just do, collaborate. Collaborate. You have the question?
Yeah, just a follow-up. Are you guys going to do another one this year for the 30th year?
We were talking about doing it, last time I saw them last year, we were talking about doing it, but yeah, we're going to do something. We'll do something. For you. I'll do it. Just kidding. Who has not asked? You can go.
How do you guys keep up with your marketing strategy since the times are like changing so fast?
Percival and Mike, do you want to answer this question for us? She's asking how to keep up with our marketing strategy because everything is changing and happening so fast.
Lots of research, and you just need to be conscious of the move from field marketing to digital marketing.
We have a really good team. It's Spit's part of our team, Mike's part of our team, PJ's part of our team, Kaylee, who's not here, is part of our team. And like, I feel like our whole company is part of marketing, whether they actually work directly on it or not. Everyone that works for us, we trust almost everyone that works for us. We probably trust Mike B the least, and he's the one in charge of it. But we have a really but we have I think we hire smart people, good people, and people we trust their opinion, and everyone puts their ideas in a basket. We all work together to help market the brand.
This is how we market the brand. We just try to be as personal and as direct as possible with us as human beings. The tools change all the time. Like when we started, it was print flyers, or it was wheat pasting was like really big back then. Everyone needs a wheat paste or do a sticker campaign, street art or something like that. And then blogs were really in vogue, and so we did very well with that. And then social media, and now social media has moved more into video and live and like all these things. But at the end of the day, it's just us being us. It's like, how best can we communicate how we feel about what we're making with the audience? And like, what tool do we need to do that? Like, next is going to be VR, virtual reality and augmented reality, VR and AR. That's going to be the next wave of everything, especially marketing. So it's like, okay, don't be daunted by that technology. It's crazy to think about, but just think of how best can we communicate who we are through VR. Like for us, like what I would love to do through VR is create our store in VR, and you can sit at home, walk down Fairfax, go to virtual Fairfax, walk into virtual the Hundreds, and for every person that walks in, the store's inventory changes specifically for you. So if you like green, are you wearing a green sweatshirt? So if you like green sweatshirts, guess what? When you walk in, there's going to be a lot of green sweatshirts on display. But when I walk in, it's going to be all black t-shirts. And like, that is communicating directly to how we want to take care of you as a customer. Like, that's going to be the future of VR. So just, technology is just a tool. I think everybody gets caught up in always, this is the new Snapchat. Oh, am I using Snapchat now, or am I using IG Stories? Oh no, IG Live. Do I need to do IG Live? Who cares? Just use whatever suits you best. Like, not everyone should be using the same thing. Thank God, like Supreme not on Snapchat. Like, I don't want to see James Jebbia on my Snapchat. Like, it's better sometimes to leave things alone. You have to listen to your brand, like what's best for you to communicate. I have a newsletter. Like, who does newsletters? But for me, it was very effective because I like to write. Like, that's how I know how to communicate with people. So like, the newsletter works very well for me. I want to be in someone's email inbox, and like, that's the customer I want. I don't want everybody. I just want the right people. I want the people that understand where I'm coming from, like how best I communicate. So that's, that's what these guys are trying to do all the time. Percival's always up on our IG stories because he's very good on camera, very handsome. Who doesn't want to watch him? The guy in the blue hat in the back.
How did you build? I've been coming around since 2008. I've been seeing 5 years. How did you build your crew to make is every element of the 100 so strong? When I see it on Snapchat or when I see it online, you guys just look like fit all the way through. How did you build such a crew?
How do you do that?
Man, I mean, I went so far, I can do anything.
No, to be honest,
That's so hard answer. That's such a hard answer.
honestly, no. It just goes back to Bobby's main thing. People overcrowded. I think we dig into. I think we get some of those people coming through, and like we just kind of get people that's like-minded with us. You know what I mean? Like if you about some of the same things that we about, and you're not about the hype, like I guess you kind of fit in with us. We just kind of. I don't know, man. We all kind of like.
That's actually what
like I'm a little bit of Bobby. Like I take a little bit of Bobby, and I take that to my day. I take a little bit, and I take that to my day. I'm a little bit of Spit's a little bit of me. So it's kind of like we all just kind of like
Feed off each other.
Yeah, we just feed off each other. I mean, it just happened to be like that. We all kind of like a perfect fit, I guess.
Yeah, but I think what you're saying is right. I think that although all these brands look like they're all just making the same thing, t-shirts and whatnot, they're actually very specific personalities. And so there's a reason why, if you're into the 100s and you're here tonight because you're into the brand, there's a reason why you're here. It's because you actually, in some way, vibe with the way that we relay our brand to the public. It's kind of abstract for me to think about and talk about, but everyone within our, we were talking about this the other day, and not that Five is, but almost everyone in our company is in a very committed relationship that they've been in for many years. You know, there's a lot of like married people, or if they're with a girlfriend, they've been with a girlfriend forever, and we're like, whoa, that's weird, like why is that? Like not a lot of brands look like that, and it's because probably they just feel, I don't know, like I feel like the same personalities, there's a word for this, I forget what it is, but the same types of personalities start getting attracted to each other, and a brand at the end of the day is just an extension or manifestation of your personality. You know, so if you like the 100s, there's a very good chance you would like to have a conversation with Ben as a person. And if you wouldn't like to have a good, if you ever had a conversation with Ben, you didn't really like him, you probably wouldn't like the 100s. Like it's really the brand is the conversation we're having with everybody. You know, like the way that I write, the way that I speak. Some people are into it, and a lot of people aren't, and they're not into the 100s because, oh, they're fucking corny because whatever, Bobby writes these crazy long essays on his Instagram. It's not for those people. And so we've curated a very defined audience over the years because everyone knows exactly what to expect from us. The Back to the Future thing, you know? Like, if another brand did that, it would turn off most of their fan base because they're like, I don't even understand. But the Back to the Future fans have found us. And they're like, even if they don't love the movie, they understand what it stands for. And they're like, I feel comfortable here. This feels like home. They like Back to the Future. They like Disney. You know, they eat Tapatio hot sauce. Like, yeah, exactly. Like you found your home. And so we basically, the 100s is a clothing brand, but it's really a personality that you feel like you're friends with. And Five wants to be friends with that person, I want to be friends with that person, and so we all kind of found each other. And some people, they don't fit. Like there's been a lot of, I know you were saying that, you know, we have a very strong crew, but there's a lot of people that come in and they don't necessarily fit, even within the office space. Like they'll come in, they'll try to design for us, it doesn't really work, or they don't drive and they don't fit, but then they'll go to another brand or company and like excel. And the reason being that their personality just fit better within that brand, and it's the same with our customers. Like some customers just vibe better with our clothes, and some of it's just not for them, and we don't want to be for everybody again. Like we like being for certain people.
A simple phrase would be real recognize real.
Real recognize. Thank you. Thank you very much. How are we doing out there? Are you guys okay? Should we take like a few more?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah? Okay. Go ahead.
Nowadays, a lot of people have a brand. Which characteristics will keep a brand alive through all the surplus in certain industries?
What characteristics is going to keep a brand around?
Keep a brand alive.
best way, I guess, what I could say is you gotta stand for something. Make sure you're, there's like a purpose behind your brand. Don't just have a brand because you want to make T-shirts. Everyone can make T-shirts, but like really, you want to. I think the brands that'll stick around are the ones that have a message that say something, that stand for something, that relay that message every single day, and the ones that make their voice be heard. I think those are the ones that'll that last and really separate themselves from the group. Nowadays, not even nowadays, even when we started, a lot of brands, always, every day there's a new brand, and a lot of brands, they really just, they start because they, I want to start a streetwear. Now it's like, I want to start a streetwear brand. I want to get into, they see what Nick does with Diamond, and I want cars and a big house and new rings and go to the club. Like, all I got to do is start a streetwear brand, and it's not that easy. Nick's been doing it a long time, and Nick stands for something. He has a message that he puts out there. And
what is it?
I know I
He's Nick's all about the counter guy. That's great. I think the difference between someone that makes and someone that doesn't is that they have a message and they stand for something.
I'm just curious, how much do comic books and like professional illustrators influence your design and like the way you craft your brand, or have they influenced you in a big
comics?
Comic books, comic book art.
That's a good question. I grew up on comic book. You read a lot of comics?
Yeah.
What comics do you read?
I like Marvel, DC, Image, a lot of like independent stuff that's been coming out. I'm really into that stuff too.
Cool.
Spider-Man all the way.
Oh yeah? Are you more of a Marvel guy?
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of DC. There's not a lot of DC. There's a couple of DC guys on staff. Big DC. No one's into. Who's into DC here? I like DC. But I grew up on Image. I was like really into Image of Todd McFarlane and Spawn, and then like some of the weirder Eastman, early Ninja Turtle stuff, like Eastman and Laird and Usagi and Jumbo, Stan Sakai. So there is comic book influence. Are you wearing this? What are you wearing? Oh, yes. Did you know we did an Usagi collaboration?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah. So very early on, we did an Usagi Yojimbo. If you guys watch the old Ninja Turtles, there was a rabbit character that was in a parallel universe. His name was Usagi Yojimbo, but it was a completely different comic that sometimes interacted with the Ninja Turtles. This is super nerdy talk, but we did a project with him, and Stan Sakai is this old Japanese American man. And we were like, no one's going to care if we do a signing here, but we did it. There was like a line around the block. It's like one of the best lines we've ever had. And so, we're not like huge comic book buffs, but I think we have a real appreciation again for like the storytelling of it. I think what comics create in terms of niche communities and audiences, it's like, that's some powerful stuff, man. Like there's a reason why Comic-Con is such a big deal. Like people really take that stuff to heart. So I would hope for the same for the hundreds.
So one of my question is, it actually did have to do with collaboration. So the question I had is, what's the best way to have a successful collaboration? I know you mentioned that the national ones are the best, but you also mentioned that you do come across ones that do require contracts. So for just in case of any of us that do come across an opportunity that does require contract collaboration, what is something that we can look into to kind of understand a little bit better, to not kind of get, fucked over at like anything to look into as far as maybe specific wording or anything like that?
The specific wording, every contract is different, every deal is different. That's kind of, I don't know if I can directly answer that, but what I can say is, usually when you're signing a contract, that means you're working with a pretty big company, and And at least that's the way it's been for us, is when we've had to put a deal on paper. That means we're working with a company much bigger than ours. And our mentality behind working on those projects has always been, we got to try to get more from them than they get from us. And so we have to make it at least look like we got more out of them than they got from us. Of course, like big company coming using a small brand, you know, makes them look cool because we're the cool small brand. But us working with a big company, you know, we got to make sure, whether it's, you know, they give us a lot of money for marketing, they let us make a soda can that they've never let anybody else do before, or they've let, right? Or we work with Adidas and the Lakers, and they let us make our own. We said we'll work with you guys, but we want to make our own jersey, and we got to redo the Lakers jersey, the Lakers logo, and we got to make our own Lakers jersey. When we're working with those bigger companies, for us, it's like, we just want to make sure before we get into bed with them that we're getting everything we can out of them, and then some, to make it look like we got more out of them than they're getting out of us.
So basically saying, well, not saying, but it's a good perspective, a good way to have a little bit more creative control.
Sure, that is definitely one way to take advantage of working with a bigger partner. Absolutely.
And that's something that can be negotiated.
Yeah, of course.
Of
course. Everything can be negotiated.
Speaking of contracts, we'll take two more questions. Thank you guys for being patient. So I'll go through.
Go ahead. Did you guys take off the word when you started actually about the domain name and being that you guys from the law school that you guys do yourself or
We did not trademark right after we got the website. We had the website first, and we trademarked probably years later, right? Like years. Yeah, it definitely took some time before we trademarked. Trademarking is very expensive, and it's a question we get asked a lot. People think they need to go out and do it right away. I don't think you need to go out and do it right away, especially if you're a small startup brand. You have way more important things to be spending your money on. I would recommend making sure that the name you're using isn't being used by anybody else, but I wouldn't go out and spend the money. We definitely didn't. I don't think it's, for a small brand that doesn't have a lot of money, I don't think it's the smartest way to spend your money. Trademarking can be very expensive. The only thing I would say is just do a little bit of research to make sure that the name you're using is not one that's being used by somebody else, and that you can use the name, but you don't need to go trademark it, because who knows, it could be around in a year, or 2 years, or 3 years. Like, after you've done some business and you've made a little bit of money, and you can use some of that profit to spend on trademarking, I'd go ahead and do that then. But until you have done some business, I don't think you need to go out and trademark a brand.
Before you get to your attorney, there's a website called uspto.gov. Okay, so that'll do a cursory sweep and show you who else has actually registered a mark that is similar to yours.
And we did not register it ourselves. We hired an attorney to do it for us.
Yeah.
Still, even to this day, like one of our attorneys just walked in this place, and he doesn't.
Guess which one it is.
and every attorney works on different things, and he works on a lot of things for us, but trademarks is we give to a specific guy that does trademarks for us.
So is it illegal to print the hundreds before you guys trademark it on T-shirts?
Illegal?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
Oh.
No. I mean, if someone else had already registered that trademark of the hundreds, yeah, I mean, we could potentially get in trouble, but in trademark, this is, I don't know if you guys care about this, but it's important to, what's really, you're trying to trademark is what's written on the tag. It doesn't matter what's on the outside of your shirt. Yeah, that's what they're looking for, is what's on your tag always, with all clothes. It's not about the graphics or what's on the outside, like, it doesn't matter. We live in their countries are either first to file or first to use with trademarks. We live in a country that is first to use. So as long as you show that you were using it first, even if you've never registered, you can use that in court later and say like, look, I was using it first. Even though it was never registered, I was using it first because I had it on my label. Some countries are first to file, which is like Korea and some other countries, and then it gets really annoying because your trademark will probably get stolen in that country the fastest. Someone just has to file it before you even know it exists out there.
Last question, someone that didn't ask.
How do you guys, this is more like a numbers kind of thing, business side. How do you guys predict, you know, like look ahead to make sure that your sales stay up and that way you guys don't dip down underneath and, you know, end up going out of business or anything like that?
I mean, it's really hard to do, but in this industry, you pre-book is the way it works. So we're right now selling product for fall 17. So we're selling product that's shipping in July, August, and September. The guys have been selling it for the past 2 months, 2.5 months. And so, you know, they spend the time now working on sales through that season, and then the next 2 months we wrap this week, and the next week we start selling winter, which is our October, November, December deliveries, and the guys work on that. So we just we put together what we want to do, and we put that in front of the team, and we tell the team to go out and get those numbers. And sometimes they hit it, sometimes they don't, sometimes they, you know, far past expectations. So. And if we don't hit, for example, then it's, okay, what can we do to make it up? Is there a project we can do? Is there a partner we can work with to make something for that we can make up those dollars? So we're lucky that, you know, this industry, it's, if you're smart and you do it right, you can predict pretty well how you're going to do 6 months to a year out. I have a pretty good idea how this year is going to end for us. And probably by August, I'll have a very good idea of how 2018 will be for us. So, yeah.
So you might start seeing a lot more basketballs on t-shirts. That's what we're saying. How many of you are trying to start your own brand or trying to work for yourself or create some kind of brand or, you know, you want to work for yourself? That's so cool. Good luck. What any last? David, what brand are you trying to start? David, stand up. What brand are you trying to start, David?
This is my fault.
That was her fault.
I won the race.
Oh, we asked Christina to stand up and explain to us what you're. No.
Christina, what brand are you starting?
Still in the works.
Was that fun?
Work in progress.
Was that cool? Yeah. Go away.
Leave me alone now.
Yes,
there are. Mike was supposed to give everybody to have some small gifts for everybody on your way out, right?
Yeah.
Grab an incense, grab a rose red sticker. Thanks for coming, everybody.